This is Lena Rivers Smith. I am in the intersection of 12th and Oak, where the crowd has gathered.
April 9th, 1968, when a peaceful protest outside City Hall in Kansas City took a violent, chaotic turn.
It's the type of thing when you live through you don't forget.
Kansas City Mayor Sly James had a front row seat to a troubled chapter in city history.
It was literally a block from my house. And it was several days, and there was a lot of upheaval. There were people afraid to leave their homes.
Unlike some other U.S. cities, the streets of Kansas City remained peaceful in the days immediately after Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated on April 4th, 1968.
Our violence was a little bit delayed in that regard.
But it was only delayed for 5 days. Classes were not canceled in Kansas City on the day of King's funeral, so high schoolers marched out of Paseo, Lincoln, and other high schools. Eventually, adults would join the march on 71 Highway leading up to KC City Hall. At first, it was tense but peaceful.
From 12th and Oak, Lena Rivers Smith, WDAF television.
And they marched to City Hall, and that's when they were met with police officers and tear gas. And that's when it started.
It was a scary event, to say the least.
It was a scene many thought could never happen in Kansas City, and when it was over, 6 African Americans were dead. Police arrested more than 1,000 people, and the damage to mostly black-owned homes and businesses totaled $4 million.
There was a tenseness in the air that was almost palpable. Yeah, I remember. Don't think I'll ever forget, to be quite honest.
People standing in the aisles during service, a sign of contention over a possible name change for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard.
Yeah, the street used to be called the Paseo, as most of you know, and some still call it by that name. Voters will decide the name controversy tomorrow.
41 Action reporter Sarah Plake looked more into the new controversy about the rally inside a church. Sarah, bring us up to speed.
Yeah, people seem to be very adamant about this, and now there's even a little bit of controversy over a rally held inside Paseo Baptist Church. But the groups on both sides say none of this will matter if people don't go out and vote.
From 1945 until now.
That's how long Flora Waddell has lived on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. But to her, it's the Paseo, and it always will be.
Means Kansas City to me.
That's why she hung this banner on the front of her house. She's part of the group that wants people to vote yes on Tuesday to change the street name back to the Paseo.
It has nothing to do with Martin Luther King. I think he should be honored. I just don't think they should take Paseo to do it. And I don't like the way they did it. They didn't consult us.
This topic has turned into a point of contention, culminating at a rally held at Paseo Baptist Church on Sunday evening. The room was filled mostly with folks who want to keep the MLK name. Save the Paseo group members stood in the aisles in protest.
They did so in a peaceable manner. However, it could come off as confrontational because they stood directly in front of individuals who were already seated, and they could not view what was going on in the rally.
Members of the church said protesters disrespected the house of God, but the protesters see it differently.
A lot of these are held at churches. They had their signs. It was a rally. It was not during a worship service. And peaceful, stood there, and they just stood up for those who haven't been heard.
What both groups can agree on is the importance of having your voice heard.
Simply put, we need to get to the polls.
I think people will vote yes tomorrow.
Okay, so it's question number 5. If you vote yes, that means that you are agreeing the name should go back to the Paseo. If you vote no, you think they should keep it as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. And the polls open tomorrow morning. I'm Sarah Plake, 41 Action News.
We are covering breaking news in Kansas City this morning. Protests continued in the plaza until around midnight over the death of George Floyd and countless others.
So tough to see all of this play out right here in our city. It was a very peaceful protest in the beginning for about 6 hours, filled with calls for justice and equality. And then it took a violent turn, as you're seeing play out right here on your screen. And this all happened. It began just after curfew was set to go into effect last night around 8 o'clock.
Thank you for starting your day with us. I'm Gina Bullard.
And I'm Joe Chiodo. Of course, so much to cover this morning. We're going to get you updated on everything you need to know. We have team coverage of those protests for you this morning and the fallout from it, as well as what we can expect to happen today. Savannah Rudisell and Abby James are live from the plaza this morning. We'll hear from both of them in a bit.
First, we want to get out to Emily Rittman. She's also at the plaza this morning. Emily, what are you seeing there? Is there a lot of debris and things left over?
We've already seen a lot of cleanup happen already, but there is still much more work to be done. And right now, police officers are blocking all of the entrances to the plaza area. And so far, police have not released the exact number, the total of arrests for Sunday. But we can show you that graffiti still remains on many buildings here in the plaza. And in several spots, you'll see they have written George Floyd's name, along with the names of other black people who died during recent encounters with police. Police say people who wanted to voice their opposition to police brutality remained peaceful even past the 8 p.m. curfew, which was not immediately enforced. Then smaller groups of people began throwing rocks and frozen water bottles at police. Officers used tear gas and other tactics to try to disperse the crowd. To give you some perspective, police say on Saturday night around midnight, police vehicles were on fire and burning. By Sunday around midnight, just a handful of people remained on the plaza. Police say they have not heard that protests will continue today, but will be prepared if they continue.
We want people to come out and continue to protest and continue to call for positive change. We support that. And we will still be here helping people support those First Amendment rights.
And police tell us that they will do a thorough debriefing, that they will take a very close look at their response to this weekend's protest. Reporting live, Emily Rittman, KCTV5 News.
Yeah, a lot of questions and how we move forward. It's going to be an interesting road. Emily, thank you. Yesterday afternoon, Kansas City police reported finding bricks and rocks in and around the plaza and Westport areas. Police haven't said exactly where those bricks were. They're still not sure who put them there in the first place. We do know in other areas of the country, rioters, they've been throwing bricks at police officers. We have not heard of that here in the city, but we did see protesters throwing frozen water bottles at officers.